very clear to all of you, and I've been very clear to the president. He bears responsibilities for his words and actions. No ifs, ands, or buts. I asked him personally today, does he hold responsibility for what happened? Does he feel bad about what happened? He told me he does have some responsibility for what happened. And he needs to acknowledge that.
All right, I know this is not fun. I know this is not great. I know this is very tough, but what I want to do, especially through here, is I don't want to rush things. I want everybody to have all the information needed. I've had it with this guy. What he did is unacceptable. Nobody can defend that, and nobody should defend it.
3 weeks later.
2 weeks ago, Republicans were condemning Donald Trump after the deadly attack on the U.S. Capitol. Now, some already appear to be softening their stance, rolling it back. The latest example, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. He met with the former president at his Florida resort yesterday. It's a turnaround for McCarthy, who is backing off his previous statement that Trump, quote, bared responsibility for the siege.
In full disclosure, beyond my teenage years and growing up in my 20s, I didn't much care or even think about politics, honestly. Don't get me wrong, I've always been into voting for good people and things like that. But as far as understanding the inner workings, the players involved, and what was really going on, I could care less. Truthfully, I really didn't pay attention to what was going on until the campaign of President Barack Obama. Yeah, I know. You didn't care until the black guy. I would respectfully respond with, you damn right. You see, before then, nothing really piqued my interest because it just seemed like a lot of old white dudes and old white women arguing over stuff that never really helped us at all. Like most people, I was resigned to the fact that everybody's just full of crap. Once President Obama got elected, I really wanted to know exactly how things worked and what he could actually get done. You see, my initial gateways were late night comedy shows with Jon Stewart and the great Stephen Colbert. You see, they did a good job of keeping you informed, but also keeping it lighthearted and enjoyable. After understanding and listening to those guys for a while, I was able to come across who I believe to be one of the goats of political discussion, the famous Rachel Maddow. You see, I naturally like to learn and understand things a certain type of way, and the way she presents everything and the way she explains her work is incredible. Shout out to her writers and her research people as well. Hands down, she is definitely my favorite. But during those 8 years of President Obama, I became deeply embedded into the characters and differences of opinion. You see, this allowed me to become very aware of how these characters impact the lives of everyday citizens. This past election cycle in 2022, the House of Representatives shifted power away from the Democratic Party towards the Republican Party. Now, no matter what side of the spectrum you decide to agree with, that's just how the system is set up. For any of these newly elected congressmen and congresswomen to be seated, the House has to agree on a Speaker of the House. For more than a century, this simple process is going fairly smoothly. Well, that is until the cycle of 2022. You see, if you recall, on January 6, 2021, a treasonous and seditious group attacked the United States government. Almost 3 years later, and many of the people in politics, the higher ups, they have yet to be held accountable for their actions in this seditious conspiracy. Many of those same cheerleaders of this seditious conspiracy have been elected to the House of Representatives. I'll be honest with you, most of them are idiots and straight buffoons. There are a few intellectuals sprinkled here and there, but the majority of them Man, I wouldn't leave them home beyond 6 p.m. by themselves. This is where Kevin McCarthy comes into play. You see, Kevin McCarthy isn't one of the buffoons. He's pretty intelligent. But what his intelligence has led him to believe is that he can reason with, negotiate with, and control the buffoons. You see, this is the same issue Speaker John Boehner had to understand before he resigned when he was facing the Tea Party during the years of President Obama. It's like the old saying goes, you can't negotiate with terrorists. They'll blow you and themselves up. Now he's facing humiliation and frustration because the idiots and buffoons are holding their small House majority hostage. You see, Kevin McCarthy needed their votes to become Speaker of the House because no Democrat in their right mind would actually vote him Speaker of the House. It took him a total of 15 tries to finally get the gavel as Speaker. It's like the people who always want to pet or tame the wild animals. As soon as they get terribly injured or wounded, they want to blame the wild animal. Me personally, I think they get exactly what they deserve. These people have already shown their disdain for government. They don't care if anything works. They want to see the system crash and burn. These same people literally had no issue that someone built a gallows in Washington, D.C. in 2021. They tried to hang the Vice President of the United States of America, and you believe that you can get them under control. Negro, please. That is complete ignorance and insanity. Because of this ignorance, the bill has come due and Kevin McCarthy has been forced out by his own party. The first speaker in the history of the United States to endure such a fate. Watching the Republican propaganda machine try to turn this nonsense and foolishness into something positive by saying that a few Republicans joined Democrats to oust the speaker is quite hilarious, bro. Primetime TV, if you ask me. But this also shows their intentional attempt to manipulate the buffoons as well. You see, they keep playing this dangerous game because they feel as if they are safe. Well, if everyone believes they're safe, somebody need to go knock on the door of Mike Pence. The one thing that I have learned about humans in general is that people really don't like when you play both sides of the fence. McCarthy never truly believed in the MAGA idiocy. He was only using their momentum and outrageousness for political and personal gain. What messed him up was that he was so obviously obsessed with just being labeled Speaker of the House. He had no backbone, and not many people truly trust cowards. He literally criticized inmate P01135809, and then not even a moment to take a deep breath later, he was down at Mar-a-Lago kissing his ass and taking pictures, looking like a doofus. You see that there, my friends? That is how you make history. Kevin McCarthy was Speaker of the House long enough to have birth of one of those babies that Republicans are trying to keep white women from aborting. My bad. I know, I went too far, my bad. That's another story for another time. But in the words of the great Malcolm X, man, at some point, those chickens are going to come home to roost. Deuces.
But you tell me, if the leader of the Democratic Party, so that would be Joe Biden, was facing 4 indictments with 91 felony counts. He had been found liable of sexually assaulting a woman and defaming her. That's E. Jean Carroll. Guilty of fraud, sharing the nation's secrets, not only in the Mar-a-Lago indictment, but there was a report yesterday from ABC News that he had shared information about our nuclear submarine capacities with an Australian billionaire who's a member at Mar-a-Lago, who had then gone on and shared that with dozens of other people. Ended up making a purchase, I think, of 3 subs. It included specifics up to how many nuclear warheads they carry and how close they can get to Russian subs without being detected. And then I told you, so all of that is happening, and he's shooting up in the polls. And when you see those interviews of Trump supporters outside of the rallies, they're like, none of this is true. It's the big lie. He won the election, et cetera. And you wouldn't say to me, you guys are in a cult? It's actually tame what Hillary Clinton was saying.